What is the problem of use of forces in village? I never knew that a village also can. What most of us face is the problem of caregivers. For people that you see platforms also, sweating, this something is really. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we will have just one more, and we'll go straight into the business of the day. That's part of the business. Let me invite the representative of White Rose. White Rose. All right, if the representative is not ready, Oluwaseun, please come. Let's do our first panel session so that
Yes, fantastic. All right, so we're getting into the real meat of it now. Our first panel session will look at disaster mitigation strategies, best practices for mitigating disasters in the real estate and build sector.
And so we will invite the Executive Chairman, Akui, Ketu Local Council Development Area, Mayor Dele Oshino. He's one of our panelists. Invite him on stage. Well, for those of you, because I mentioned Akui Ketu, I'm sure you all know that it's the Yuletide period, and every one of us will have to buy tomatoes, pepper, and water. This man controls the entire environment there. And you can see the structures that are coming up at Mile 12 Market. Please, a big round of applause.
Yes, we celebrate that we're going to be on Dele Oshino, Executive Chairman and Ketu LCD. All right, our next panelist is a founding partner, Estate Links Limited, Mr. Akwenga Olani. Can we welcome him with a round of applause, Beltons?
And quickly, let me invite the Executive Director, the Lagos State Development Property Corporation, Mr. Shola Olubusu.
All right, and the moderator of this panel is the Executive Director, Lagos State Development and Property Corporation, LSDVC, Prince Adeniyi Aromalara. Very welcome, sir. All right, we would also like to call on the MD/CEO of Gracias Global, Dr. Ladi Aguta, to join this panel. Can we welcome her?
Well, we know we're in the market, and what we are selling, what Sheila and I are selling is time. So we'll sell to the highest bidder. This session will take the next 20-25 minutes. And we don't intend to exceed that. Over to you, Mr. Moderator.
All right. Good morning, my panel. All protocols duly observed. Thank you very much. We're going to have 4 questions. We have 20 minutes, and then we have 5 minutes for questions. I've spoken to you guys what your questions would be, so get you ready. So, for 4 questions, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Vega. We don't want to assume that we all understand what disasters are, because disasters are classified. There's some that are natural disasters, there's some are man-created, and Nigerians are known for creating many disasters. So we'd like you to first talk about what are disasters as it relates to the real estate business and the built industry, and what may constitute disasters that are not evident now. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you. I would start by saying this, a straightforward definition. A disaster or disasters are a series of events with extreme circumstances. So a disaster to you, on a lighter note, than marrying a young wife.
or husband. But in this case, a disaster would clearly be something that affects you real estate-wise. And I always like using personal examples. Two disasters to me, and it's important because in the long run, recommendations will come from this. Number one was as a young practitioner in the early 90s, I took a number of investors to Ajah to buy property. We did our searches, the results came out right, and shortly after, for those who had built properties, their properties were demolished. For those who had not built, the land was taken over. That my team had gone to inspect just 1 week prior, and then the property collapsed. The fact that it collapsed was a disaster to the guy who was building, the developer, and the fact that it collapsed was also a disaster to those who had invested. So there are quite a number of ways that we could actually grade these disasters. I'm sure at the end of today, the question will be, how do we mitigate? And let me add one final one. And this is a question of optics, and this is where the Lagos State government really needs to do something very strong. I was in Saudi Arabia last week for a conference, and one of the Saudis asked me, what is going on in Nigeria where houses are being destroyed? So it tells you that for a large economy like ours, the story is going all over the world. The question is, how are we mitigating? Saudi, a country that is just opening up its economy, is fully aware of what is going on in Lagos State. I think I can pause here. Right, no. We need a follow-up question before I come to Dr. You know, I did see disasters that are yet to happen. I've done a bit of research before we came. How do you manage financial disasters? And how do financial disasters occur in the real estate sector?
Now, disasters that are yet to happen, they are man-made disasters and they're natural disasters. I was privileged to visit the Commonwealth of Dominica a few years ago after they had the worst hurricane ever. It destroyed 80% of the property. But what the government then has done is they have brought forth the technology where properties being built are hurricane proof. For us, we need to start talking about the climate situation, the way the global warming is happening. It rained in Lagos yesterday morning in December. So the question is, what are we doing? Because this also affects the funds that people put into projects. Now, if I had 25 minutes to myself, I would also go into the financial side. But I know we don't have time. So if I have the opportunity, I'll speak.
So what I will do is I'll put it in the parking lot and then it will be part of the closing comment.
Thank you.
All right. Ololadi, you had been what are the strategies that we need to put in place now and thinking futuristic? Because the disasters were not even looked at. Now, because we have a shortage of time, I did quite a lot of research. And as I said, global warming and the weather changes and all of that. All of these things affect project plans. That's really nobody would have done any work at that time. So what are strategies that we need to put in place to mitigate, mind the word, mitigate these disasters, both known and unknown? Thank you.
Me too.
Okay, so for disasters, I don't really understand.
The only disaster I mean, I can talk about is demolition of Finesse. A yet to be completed or even a fully habitable structure of disaster.
Yes,
And that's a disaster by itself.
exactly.
Because aside the money we put into construction, the work is hard.
Yes.
It is hard. So, and most of these structures, sorry, Uncle said something that we had approval and the structure was still demolished.
Yes.
He talked about something.
Yes.
But did they have their building at the top? That's something. Thank you, sir. But this time, to the best of my knowledge, I am meant to understand that if you have your building at the top, that saved me a lot, including the properties. I acquired 2 or 3 properties. Building approval gave me the information that coastal road is coming somewhere, regional road somewhere, drainage, where water is somewhere. So I did not. So I think getting your building approval can save you from future disasters in the construction sector. Then also, aside your building approval, you still need the building control to be on your case. So that's why we have I think they need the more, I don't know if they are properties, but I think they should synchronize them for our own. But the ones that already have building approval, they don't really have to go to the lab test. You understand? The last one is say by mistake, don't understand that. So,
This one, familiar.
from future disasters. Give you self-proclaimed construction for us. They try to consult.
So Lola, you're going to the other side. You spoke about demolition. What about the issue of collapse?
That's what I'm saying.
It's the same thing.
If we have when we give constructions to contractors, if it is weak,
You mean what?
I don't know.
Or because there are people like that?
Yes, so we give them and the building control agencies will seriously and correct immediately.
But then that connects to the financial disaster.
So
It's already happened.
Nigeria, no money.
Well, from the start, we want to mitigate. We don't want it to happen. What should we do from the start?
saving not to do well.
And ensure you use the right professional.
Yes, yes. Everybody that wants to put money that will ensure people in technical cases. We in our mind we are giving jobs to the right people. But you know Nigeria, so people are actually good contractors, but they want to make more profits than they should make.
So compromise.
You might not pay attention to those things. You have several constructions going on at the same time. But when the building control agencies come, they will see those things.
Thank you very much. Before I come to you, Honorable, I would like to go to my fellow agents, and I would like to say the same similar question. What are the strategies from your own perspective and from our perspective as LSDPC? What should we do even before we commence? Thank you.
Okay, so thank you. I actually was expecting to speak from that perspective, really, because of our experience at LSCC. We, as a foremost property developers, development company, we've been doing this for over 50 years, and recently we started doing what we call joint ventures and PPP with private developers. And I can tell you, my experience has been very, very revealing. And I'll touch on a few things that I believe are some of the things we need to look at. And one of it is the fact that we need that safety consciousness. We need to create that safety awareness better amongst the stakeholders in the industry. There is actually a deliberate, I don't want to use the word deliberate, but I think that there's enough compliance when it comes to safety. Most developers don't even pay attention to it. I mean, for them, it's just something they have to do. And so they just pay and forget about it. And so when you get to site, you realize that it's not really given the importance it should be given to. That's one. I'm talking from experience, practical experience of our interaction with our developers. As I speak, we have over 25 projects running all over Lagos. And so I can tell you authoritatively some of the things that we see happening today. That's one. So we need that adherence and compliance with the safety rules. I tell you, if you go to certain development companies, especially from contracting sites with certain contractors, before you can enter the site, they will first educate you on the rules. These are the things you have to do. But I'm sure it's not, I mean, if you take the sense of it, you realize that that's not really what happens in most of our sites. I mean, Lolade was talking and all that. That's one. Secondly, the lack of professionalism. I tell you, we interact with a lot of developers. And from the design, you begin to see errors. You begin to see issues. So when things are brought to us, we first have to look at it. We look at it in-house, and our team, we first review those designs. Then for like 3 months, we're going back and forth. Go and change this. There should be a window here. There should be this here. There should be that here. And then we ask questions. Where are your consultants? So we realize that most developers don't even have consultants. And where we have consultants, they are, like you said, I don't want to call them quacks. And so part of the problem is also, I believe, is a general problem that all of us must pay attention to. And what is that problem? We do not value professionalism. We do not. Where the consultants are available, they're not paid. Realtors are here. Most of you don't pay the consultants. And so we have consultants on form of our site that will walk away from the project.
Yes.
And we as LACPC, we now have to, mediate between the developer and the consultant. Where these days we insist, we want to see a consultant, please forward their certificate to us, forward their membership professional to us, so that we can hold them accountable for what they're doing on the site.
Yes.
I mean, the building that collapsed, we all know. I mean, what happened? The engineer or whatever said, it wasn't paid anymore. So those are some of the, let me also touch on one before I move. And what is that? I think the love of money, greed, and executive lawlessness. Everybody, we're all cutting corners. We're all cutting corners. The developer wants to make money. So where it should build 20, building 30, building 40. I mean, of course, corruption. Where if you follow the rules, you give money and do everything. You want money, I can get what I want. So we all need to discipline ourselves. We need to really, really follow the rules. We need to be compliant to the rules of the game. We need to regulate ourselves and then allow ourselves to be regulated. Let me just stop there. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I think we can do better than that. I mean, come on, those hands together. My honorable mayor, let's bring it nearer. What are you doing in your LCDA? And by extension, what is Lagos State's position and what are the mitigating regulations that were put in place? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Firstly, I want to appreciate Minister of Housing, Lagos State Government for inviting me here. You'd be surprised at what is he doing in the local government channel. When I came on board, I looked at our comparative advantage. How can we, increase our revenue, and also look at our strong area. I realized that we have over 27 hectares of land that has been demolished because of the crime rate. It was slump, so we decided to regenerate the location, turn it to an housing estate. And I'm telling you as of today, my local government, actually the LCD created by National Collaborative. Our LCD was the first to go into housing development in Nigeria. It will be commissioned on Friday by Mr. Governor. So now, at the local level, at the local government level, we have to follow all the established frameworks. Lagos State has actually established the strongest building framework in Nigeria. And we all know that. We have the material testing, we have Lagos State Building Control, we have LASRERA, we have other agencies that looks into this. But most of our developers, our private sectors, our partners, they've actually intentionally refused to follow all these rules. I'm sorry, I don't mind, you might not like it. A lot of developers doesn't want to, they don't want to go through that route because one, they believe that they don't want to pay, they don't want to pay the government the prescribed fee. But at the end of the day, I can tell you that if you're buying a land, the first thing I believe you should do is to go for searches. Search if this land is habitable, if it's due for it, they're using for development. But most of us now, most of the real estate developers have refused this, intentionally ignore this. They believe that they have a lot of experience, and the next thing you see when they buy a land, they want to go and breaking immediately. They want to get money, like my brother said, greed of money. They just want people to come and start paying and buy into the property, buy the land so that they can develop as fast as possible. But I can tell you, we can actually avoid all this by doing the necessary, going through the necessary step, following the building code, by obeying the building regulations and all that. That will actually avert disasters. But also, at the local government, when we're about to start our project, we actually involve the community development association. So that they'll be like for us. Sometimes most of our developers just want to do what they like. And let me give you an example. In one of our projects, there's our site service going on, was actually part of that project. Somebody bought a land, and it was during the construction, they noticed that it was not, after the first slab, the roof level, we actually to actually construct the roof beam, which will know that if there's a heavy wind or rainfall, the roof will actually be blown away. So they call my attention through the CDA, they call my attention to that. I have to go there myself to go and check. And I actually called the consultant and said, what is going on here? Why would you allow this? He said, I'm not aware. I said, no, you're paid to do this job.
Sorry, if I hear you correctly, you're saying we should expand the engagement to include all stakeholders. Because when a disaster occurs, it's not important about
it will affect them.
Thank you very much.
They actually part of it, and they that. So my own advice for the real estate practitioners is for you guys to go and do the proper documentation, follow the procedure, follow the building code, the regulation, and make sure you comply with it. And Lagos State is actually there. They check all this. There's what they call state certification. There's a Q test that you do and send it to material testing. If you ask most of the developers, they don't do it. So at the end of the day, what they result to, when they go to landscape, that's why ask them to go and do ADT, don't do short test. Or sometimes it might be late. And that's related to financial disaster.
I have to interject you there. Now, the conversation will not be concluded today. Ask you, we are not able to touch on best practice. I'm persuaded to talk about one, for example. I know a lot about Amsterdam. I've done extensive research about Amsterdam. Amsterdam is no sea level. And they have this massive gutters that go around the whole of Amsterdam. And they make sure the water circulates. That should go and extend further to use those gutters as tourist opportunities. So you go in these caves where you see the old city. So we're not able to look at what are new ways, digitalization we didn't talk about it. So each one of you, one minute closing council, what are you suggesting that we take away from here? Whether to developers, to the government, what are we? I know one of the things that is still missing and the government should do is enforcement. So what are you suggesting as your final closing council? 30 seconds.
Okay, so I'll allow him to talk about when I spoke with someone and he was like, when your people build in wrong places will be demolished. And I told him, sir, you cannot continue to demolish. The end users and the users here.
Yes.
They are the investors. At the end of the day, let us put us on check.
Yes.
Let us be liable for those disasters we will sit on. So for enforcement that you talked about, it's very important at this point.
So enforcement.
Yes.
Thank you very
Then
much.
he talked about lack of professionalism. I would agree with that. He talked about developers wanting to make money, clients wanting to buy cheap.
Yes.
So we need to understand that houses are not cheap.
No.
And that's what we need to sell cheap houses. Houses are not cheap.
Because they're not cheap housing material.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Benga,
I give him somebody to answer.
your vote, 30 seconds.
Okay, I will speak on that. I'll speak on advocacy, and I'm speaking to the government now. Advocacy and regulation. I can tell you, if you call 20 people on the streets today and you ask each person to tell you what they believe was the reason why those houses in the Lekki area were demolished, most people would not know. I was asked this question by a way in Saudi a week ago, and I tried to defend my country, but to be honest, I didn't have the correct answers. It behoves on the government to educate the people. Let us know where the developers went wrong. Let us also know so that buyers will be aware. Because what we call collateral damage is a big problem. If people start saying that you can buy a property in Lagos and you lose it, it's the beginning of a problem. Ghana is taking a lot of the African Americans from us.
Yes.
And then 3 years ago, 1st of January 2020, the year COVID started. And I tell you, 186 African Americans, I was speaking to them, trying to get them to come to Nigeria, and most of them, well, some were afraid of crime, and the others were afraid of our country. We need to let people know survey receipt and purchase receipt is entitled. We need to let people know when people come to me, 36 years of real estate practice, and ask me to check this title. I say, I'm not a lawyer. Go to the real estate lawyer to check out your title.
Thank you.
But the advocacy must come from the government so that people know that they're safe and secure to invest in the fourth biggest economy in Africa.
Yes.
So that we can safeguard an economic disaster.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you very much.
30 seconds.
Let's talk about the financial disaster. For us to avoid that, I think from the government side, I want to from the advocacy is very important. Lagos State government is actually doing that, but I think our developers need to do more about this.
Thank
For
you.
you to avoid financial disaster, you need to follow the regulation. You need to follow the building code and do all the necessary things that you need to do for you to avoid financial disaster.
Thank you very much.
Finally, my word would be to one developers. And I'll start by saying, let's manage our resources.
In every development that's going on, there's a financial risk, there's a construction risk. And I think that for most of our developers, we don't do everything.
because we think that we can make money from all the different aspects of development. From our experience, we have situations now where we insist that we want a contractor different from developer because we have had one or two bad experiences with developers doing everything. And so we say to developers, outsource your risk, your construction risk.
Yes.
Give it to credible contractors who are known. For the building that collapsed in the week, that was one of the issues. So give it to outsourcing, and then you can go to sleep because the contractor will give you a performance bond. The contractor will be the one to ensure that all the things that needs to be met, all the things that parameters need to be in place, are put in place. The construction will be done to standard. So if there are any issues, one, the contractor will be held liable, not the developer. Number one, the developer at the same time, I want to say, don't overtrade. You have several sites, and you at the same time you want to be the developer, the contractor, and all the sites. Please, let's separate and manage our risks. Face your own area. You want to be the one selling. Face your seller or sell the market. Let the contractor do the construction. And then you can also ensure that what needs to be put in place is put in place.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Quick, can we put our hands together? Dr. Laladi, let's have please put our hands together. And my colleague Adiola Oluso, we are being your panelists on this issue. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Oh yes, we'll look for our panelists to take a group photograph. Can we put our hands together one more time? As we also thank our moderator, the Executive Director of Lagos State Development and Public Corporation, SDPC, Prince Adeli Aomara, for moderating that session. Now, this was a very, very wonderful panel. You're very welcome. Let's welcome our SA and the representative of Mr. Governor with a round of applause as they join our panelists for photographs. All right, we'll also look for the Managing Director of LSDPC to join this photograph. We put our hands together for him as he comes forward. Honorable Ayodeji Joseph, you're very welcome, sir. Salary budget, that was a wonderful panel. A lot of very hot button issues touched on. We talked about, what a disaster, what constitutes as a disaster. Safety, I thought it was really important that the safety question was highlighted, because when we talk about disasters, a lot of focus is put on demolitions and collapses. But I love that the issue of safety was re-highlighted today. So that safety consciousness within the sector to avert disaster is important. Another recurring decimal is just constant access to information so that people know what is happening, so that way they can avoid sledgehammers. And I think another thing that has been said over and over again is a soft landing. So from where people make mistakes, building isn't just demolished, some sort of soft landing is provided so that investments are made secure. But again, we thank all our panelists for their contributions. All right, just before we have our next panel and conversation, allow us to just recognize a few of our very special guests who have walked in. We have Dr. Shegun Oshundairo, who's the CEO of Arkview Investment Limited. Can we welcome him with a round of applause? We also have our group CEO for Silos Homes, Dr. Oluwatosin Olatujoye, here with us. Can we celebrate Silos Homes one more time? All right, very soon we're going to have our second panel, the role of public-private partnerships in enhancing design.